and welcome back to another episode of the In the Game podcast. I'm your host, Bryan Clinton, and before you ask, no, the camo was not planned. That's just we are in sync over here at Heartland College Sports. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, who will be a regular on this show, Joe Tillery. We're going to enlighten you a little bit here on College Football 25. Pete, if you're watching this, it's time to start setting some money aside. You need to get a PS5 or an Xbox. We have a lot of things to catch you up on, and we don't have that much time left.
That sounds about right, man. Thanks for
Joe,
having me.
how's it going, man? Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited about this one.
Me too, man. I think today's been a great day all around, and I'm excited to talk ball with you here today.
So what we're going to do here, folks, is we have come up with a list of our biggest takeaways. Obviously, earlier this morning, College Football 25's gameplay deep dive was released. And when I tell you I had goosebumps for the entirety of the almost 6-minute video, that's not an exaggeration. It was absolutely awesome to finally see a game, something that I grew up playing, finally coming back after a decade. And so we've got some takeaways to talk about. We're just going to jump right in. The first thing for me, Joe, the graphics, man. The graphics of the actual gameplay, seeing everything in motion. When Ollie Gordon popped, whenever he pops on the screen, the very first thing, and we see him running around in Boone Pickens Stadium, like it just, something about that just felt different. Like we've all seen what Madden looks like. Madden looks fine. It doesn't play fine, but it looks fine. And this just almost felt next gen to me. Like it looks like as if things are. This is the next step in graphics for video games. So it was like the field, the uniforms, like all of it just looks so good, man.
Dude, I cannot describe how excited I am. And seeing the trailer, like getting the full in-depth breakdown was awesome. And you said it, I mean, Madden is Madden. It is what it is at this point, but this felt like an experience, like a gaming experience. And I was so excited to see it. One thing I wanted to talk about, so my first kind of main takeaway from this is going through all the different specifics of what's going to be included in the game and how the different gameplays go. I was really interested in the wear and tear section. So talking about the injuries that players will, or not necessarily injuries, but the hits that players will take mid-game and how that adjusts their in-game rating. You know, they saw the clip of, I think it was maybe Texas State or somebody, and it was, hey, the starter's a 74 right now. Will you sub him out or will you keep him going and risk that re-injury? And first of all, that's revolutionary. Like I know that's going to be it's going to probably take some adjustments for people, and I think it'll change the style of play for a lot of guys, including, people wanting to shift to like a triple option offense or something like that, where you're getting the ball out of the quarterback's hand quick. But I think that might be a situation where maybe the first week or two of the release, we're going to see some adjustments on those sliders of how often do players get, banged up here or there, or what's the end goal of that. So while I'm absolutely excited for it, and I think the more realism, the better, but it's going to be an adjustment for sure. That was something that I immediately took away from that.
If you're watching on YouTube, you have a shot here where we gotta get to look and see what this portion of the screen looks like. So this is going to be up in the upper right hand corner of your play selection. You're going to have some like in-game shots going on, like maybe a crowd scene or players walking back to the huddle up at the top left. This will be up in the top right hand side of your screen, and then your play selections will be down below. Wear and tear was one of mine as well, so we can kind of camp here for a little bit. This is going to go one of two ways, Joe. This is either going to be something that is a vital part of football video games going forward because it is so revolutionary, or it's going to end up being the thing that holds this game back from being what we had hoped. Now, right now, I tend to believe it's going to be the former, just considering all of the guys that played this down in Orlando. Most of them didn't get to the fourth quarter and really get to see that, but the way that it balances the game is what's really exciting for me, because in college football games in the past, you could run halfback dive 90 times in a game, 45 times in a game if you wanted to against a CPU, and your running back could just keep coming. Like, he'd get gassed, which fatigue is a whole nother thing in this game. They're not one and the same. But this will keep players from continually taking shots. You know, if a linebacker lights this guy up in the middle 2 or 3 times, there's a chance that he's going to be sitting on the sidelines. So um, it really is going to force teams or force players to look at depth in their in dynasty mode. You're really going to have to limit the hits that your running backs and your quarterbacks are taking. It's going to make you think twice about leaving a wide receiver out to dry. Like it's going to really make this game feel realistic. Like it's bringing a new realism to it. So, Joe, question for you: kind of what
Mhm.
I want your thoughts on the balance between wear and tear and fatigue. I saw in this description where the fatigue side of things, the real reason that they went this direction was to make the play count more realistic. They wanted, they wanted a running back to really start wearing down a little bit. If he gets 3 carries in a row in a drive, or they want him to have 25 or 30 carries in a game, and that really be something that you have to monitor going forward. So, how do you feel as far as what you've seen about the balance between wear and tear and fatigue?
I think I'm cautiously optimistic would be the best way I'd say it right now. I think that adding more realism into the game is going to be a good thing. I mean, there's going to be teams out there that do give their running back 25 carries. There might be a game where Ollie Gordon has 30 total
Mhm.
touches, but at some point you start to think about the game a little bit differently of, okay, we got to get somebody else to take some of that load off. Because if you think about this, even just beyond one game, it's like,
Right.
if you're playing the entirety of a season, whatever mode that be, thinking about giving a running back 250 touches is going to be a drastically different conversation. It is literally the real time adjustment of like, how does an NFL team view a college running back? Are they used up? Are they fresh? Did they overwork XYZ thing? I think it's going to be an interesting balance. I really do. I also think, how is this going to affect guys that aren't skill position players? Because that's something that I think could be an issue. I mean,
Mm.
offensive linemen, defensive linemen, those dudes work every single play. And I know maybe at this point I'm splitting hairs, but I'll be interested to see, like, okay, is it safe for me just to have an 85 overall left tackle and figure out the depth behind him if that happens? Or is it something where you need to stack those constant guys? But I think it's going to be a good balance. I think the fatigue is going to be there, but obviously the wear and tear system, they kind of work hand in hand. So, you get to the fourth quarter of a game, if you've
Mhm.
been throwing the ball 72 times, maybe it's Quinn Ewers, maybe it's, Jalen Milrow, whoever. At some point, your quarterback's arm's going to get tired. So I think that you're going to have to make conscious decisions, but we'll have to see how it plays out. And I think there might be a little bit of adjustment as this game kicks off.
Yeah, and something just to add to that, the workhorse, which is one of the abilities. I guess we're gonna have 80 abilities in this game, which is pretty awesome. Um, workhorse was something that we saw in the trailer that Ollie Gordon has, which there are many instances last year when you thought he might be hurt and he might need to be taken off the field, and then the next drive starts and he's right back out there, and he like hasn't lost any of his speed or any of his power. That is one of those things that we're going to see. These physical abilities, as you can see here, you've got the 4 different levels: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Ultimate protection from wear and tear effects when colliding with other players. So that is an attribute that you're going to see on some of these guys. Now, their archetypes are going to that's really going to affect which players can have what. So it's not like you can just throw this workhorse on anybody, but it will be interesting to see how that balance is played out and which of these 80 abilities are going to be, some of the more powerful ones are the ones that people like to use. I do like how it's not like Madden's X Factor though, or the abilities in Madden are guaranteed outcomes, and that gave so many people just a bad feeling towards this. So when they found out that this is not guaranteed, this is purely situational, I like that. Boosts this abilities portion wasn't even one of my 5 thoughts. That's how much stuff there is to go into on this game. Um, my next one, wear and tear, was one of mine, so we'll jump down to my next one. The passing mechanics.
Mm.
I really liked what I saw from the passing mechanics. Now, layering throws is something that quarterbacks from the high school level all the way up to the pros is something that they have to work on. If you've heard the phrase one ball or two ball or three ball, one ball being a bullet, three ball being you put as much arc into it as you can. You're trying to drop it into the bucket. You've heard that before. I really like that, and it looks as if it's a super fluid uh, system. And for me, I kind of struggled in some of the earlier Madden games whenever it was hold for a bullet pass or touch passes, just you kind of touch the button in the heat of the moment. Like I feel like I would either button mash or I wouldn't do it right. This kind of forces you to choose the power that you want to use, and it looks as if on that power meter, um, it makes it pretty clear how the ball is going to come out. So I'm excited about that. I like that you can really make plays or make throws, especially in like a goal to go situation where only the wide receiver can make a play on it. Like I
Mhm.
like the fact that you're able to back shoulder and do things like that with this. And so the passing mechanics is something I like. I cannot wait to see how that works out.
Oh, definitely. And that was actually one of my takeaways too, was kind of focusing on the revamped passing system. Like you mentioned in the past, it's been that tap to lob and hold A to bullet. And there was some nuance to that, but not entirely to the degree we saw, obviously, in the breakdown. But I think this is going to add in more of a case of, hey, there's going to be a skill gap early on. The guys that are completely up to speed with the passing mechanics are definitely going to have more success than not throwing the football. But I'm really interested to see what that looks like what that jump immediately is. Is it going to be similar to like the 2K shot system where it's basically you got to get it in the green area, what the case is, but the idea that each player
Mm.
has nuance to the different arm angles, I think that's going to be a really cool thing. Like in the video, we saw a ton of guys that you would say are more pocket passer type dudes, like Jackson Arnold. We saw a bunch of clips of him. You saw Quinn Ewers. Then you also saw some mobile guys. You saw Milrow and a couple others. I'll be interested to see if it's one system for everybody or if it's like actually based off like certain arm angles or something in that field where it's like, how does this guy stand in the pocket? How does he normally layer his throws? Or is it something where some guys are viewed differently, or is it just a general kind of one quarterback, all quarterback, which obviously it'd be a lot harder and a lot more to invest to each specific quarterback. But I'll be interested to see how that goes because I think that could really cater to the type of like, do you use a mobile quarterback? Do you use, an air it out type guy for a lot of team construction? So I think that'll be an interesting takeaway for sure.
Yeah, and something to kind of add on to that, you compared it to the 2K shot system, which is really a good example because you see here on the start of the pass, you're going to notice three colors: blue, yellow, and red. The sizes of these sections depend on your quarterback's attributes, abilities, the throw distance, and other factors that'll impact accuracy, such as being pressured, throwing off of his back foot or on the run, etc. So, um, blue is what you want to hit. Like that's going to give you the best chance of it being a safe and accurate football. Yellow, you're a little more up in the air. Red, like probably not going to end well. What's interesting is there is no guarantee. Like the variance based on your quarterback's abilities on his overall is going to change how well things go with those passes. So you may hit it just perfectly in the blue, but if he's a 68 overall percent quarterback because you ran your other guy into the ground because you didn't take care of him and wear a tear, it's really going to end up hurting you in the long run. So it really does force you. Everything seems to kind of come together and force you to really think about this from an actual like a coach's perspective, which is really cool.
I think it's
What's your
almost
next one, Joe?
yeah, yeah. Sorry. So this one's a pretty general one, and I think
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
cool. I think they immediately beat the Madden reskin allegations. That was one thing that my mind kept going to. You watch the way the games play, and I'm watching some of the tackle animations, like in the passing situation or the wear and tear section. Some of the tackles, some of the hits. I mean, you see Devin Neal hurdling an Iowa State defender, and it's like these are animation styles that do not look like Madden. I mean, a lot of these tackles, a lot of these hits that are being made, like there was the one on Jackson Arnold against Tennessee where he, leans favors to the shoulder, goes down in a different way than anything I've seen previously. a lot of the Madden games, I don't mean to just bury it, but we all know what it is. There's what I'm talking about. So you get Devin Neal hurdling, gets clipped off the knee, and goes straight over forward. But like, I guess that might be high shot. I can't tell from the 23. I don't know if I'm off the top of my head. There's Devin Neal in the first part, and then it cuts us up
Well,
to.
no, four is it was Neil, but then there's some guy named Shade, which again, this is just they talked about having not all the guys are in the game yet, so
Gotcha.
that's still being processed. But you're
What
right, it was Devin Neal right there at
I
first.
tell you what, Shade's got some ups halfway through there. Shade cutting in right there. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see what
Yeah,
happens there. Whether
23
it's
man, jump man. Let's go.
dude, Jumpman, man, they knew who they were going for. But it's going to be a really exciting thing just to feel different. Like it doesn't feel like okay, here's revamped rosters. This is going to be a creation that feels completely new. And you see the stadiums give that feel, the tacklers give that feel, the passing mechanics. This all doesn't feel like the same thing we're used to, and I cannot wait to play it. That's the biggest kind of one that kept smacking me in the mouth throughout the video.
Yeah, and you kind of hear from all the guys that were down in Orlando last week, like that was almost the sentiment. It felt like you heard a lot from the guys there. It was almost as if it was like pounded into their head. Like we are making sure that this absolutely is not a Madden reskin. And something to note of that is, guys like you and I probably we know this, but some people don't. The guys who took this thing over and really started to build this out 3 years ago, these are the same dudes that were taking care of revamped and pouring all of this love that we saw into NCAA 14, and they love this game. Like they're legitimately college football sickos. Like that's those are the people that are making this game. And so what further reiterates that, which this is something a lot of people missed, is here in the second paragraph here. They say, first, a peace offering to Buckeye fans with our gameplay deep dive trailer. This is referring back to the gameplay or the reveal trailer when a lot of people said somebody in that development team has something against Ohio State because there was Ohio State players getting stiff armed and falling to the side and like just they weren't playing well, and they pay attention to that. So just that back and forth between the development team and the fans, that shows me they're actually paying attention. They actually care about the input from the community. And that's what it takes for you to have success when it comes to games like this, because the tone deafness that you've seen from EA when it comes to Madden over the last several years is the reason why you have so many people up in arms about it. If the Ultimate Team was actually taken care of the way that it should be, if it didn't just become a microtransaction monster, you would have a lot more people happy with it. And I just like the fact that this developmental team has taken the time to pay attention and really buy in with what the fans are saying. So I love that point. The Madden reskin, we can officially bury that today on May 31st. I think the rumors of that being a Madden reskin are gone at this point. So good stuff on that one. I will add, I've got two left here. The AI improvements for the CPU. And this covers like several sections. We saw several marks from guys that have done recaps and when Herbie was talking about everything, the in-game adjustments. So if you're killing the computer on Inside Zone, they're going to you're going to see some teams that have more aggressive head coaches stack the box faster. Like they're going to force you to have to try and throw the ball or play out on the perimeter. They're going to adjust maybe their fronts. If you've got a team that runs multiple defense, if they're running a 3-man front and you keep gashing them on inside zone, they may switch to a bear front or a 4-man front and force you to have to throw the football, which again, that's the chess match, right? Like that's what we see in actual football games on Saturdays is this chess match between two head coaches, and they're using the 11 players on their side to try and outmaneuver and outflank the other team. So I like that. The improved clock management. This was something that wasn't necessarily talked about a lot, before today, but we had heard glimpses of it. it sounds as if the AI has finally figured out how to spike the football, how to actually manage the clock. You don't have it's almost as if in NCAA 14 and even some of the Madden games, it's like you were playing a 4-year-old that didn't understand how everything works with time management. If they had 3 timeouts with 30 seconds left and they're down by 3 points, like you would be using those timeouts. And it sounds like that's been fixed. The implementation of a 2-minute warning as well in college football is going to be interesting to see how that fits into this game because we didn't have that in NCAA 14. So that'll be interesting. The RPO stuff, not just the offensive side of the ball, though. Like that's what, at that point in the video, whenever we heard Kirk Herbstreit talk about how the defensive AI has changed to defend the RPO, that's when I was like, okay, like they literally thought of everything for this game because there are big differences and nuances in how you cover RPO from the backside. If your quarterback is a legitimate running threat in an RPO, those backside defensive ends are going to stay home a little bit more. Like they're not going to crash down on that running back. And to see that actually implemented where the AI in the game understands that concept to me is just like mind blowing. Like that's so cool that we've reached that point in technology where that's going to be a thing. And then the other one is they're actually going to utilize matchups. Like the computer is going to utilize, if you've got a guy out there playing corner that has no business playing corner and he's got Amika Ibuka on the other side, you're going to pay for that. Like I love that. I love the fact that they're making this to the point where it's going to be difficult and it's going to have like a variance of outcomes with certain plays because the computer knows what it's doing. So that's exciting for me because there are times when I just want to pick up the sticks and play and other friends aren't on. And it's going to be nice to be able to have a challenge and it be something that makes you contemplate hitting the reset button because you lost on a last second field goal.
That's a classic. I mean, it's just beautiful to see, man. I'm excited for the era where, if you're grinding challenges, say it's a challenge for some Ultimate Team unlock, and it's hey, rush for 150 yards in the game. You can run HB dive 17 times in the first half and have that done easy. The implementation of like adjusting the game plan is going to be massive. I mean, it's going to make people better. At least you would hope it makes people better and they adjust, but it's just going to be an exciting time, man. I think there's a lot of great additions that we saw in that trailer. And like the idea of having the multifaceted defensive approach, like, if you're sitting out there and you have a 5'8" corner wearing number 46, doesn't matter who's across from him, probably going to give up a touchdown here. Like it's just not always going to be such a 1-2 thing. But man, I think one thing I wanted to ask you about, because it's kind of touching back to an earlier point, but on the skills and attributes portion of this, or the abilities portion, I think when you heard Herbie talking about it, saying, okay, hey, it's a way to reward some of the more veteran or decorated college football guys. Like it's not going to be a situation where a true freshman steps in and he immediately has all these different unlockables or immediately has all these different abilities. You're going to see a bunch of different studs have different things. I want to know, because obviously we know that conference realignment is adjusted. Obviously we know that the transfer portal is a thing in certain game modes. I want to know how the abilities work with that. If it just stays with the player regardless of where he goes, if it's like hey, I'm 95 overall quarterback. I've been successful at Texas, at Alabama, at Oregon, wherever you're at, and then you go to Sam Houston State or something like that. Do those attributes follow you, or is it a different system of you have to rebuild them through your play? Because I think that the ability aspect of this game is going to be a massive thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I am curious about that as well because, and a good example here would be Travis Hunter. We see him; he's 95 overall, fan favorite. Increased composure gains at home. He's got a gold level fan favorite mental ability. If he was to go from Colorado to say Kansas State or Kansas or Nebraska, somewhere that is a rival to him, um, are those fans absolutely like? Are they going to automatically? Is he going to continue to have that? Like that? That is interesting. I would almost be. I would be curious to see if they go away, or maybe if they even drop a level. Like maybe his attributes that he has, maybe they drop a level. Like he's lost some of his confidence or something. I don't know how they're going to implement that. And that's an interesting question. I have no idea how they're going to handle that, but that would be really cool. It'll be something, and I'm sure one of the things that's really interesting about this, the way that this game was developed, 3 years. They had 3 years to get this right, and I think you've seen like the love poured into it. But what's also really interesting is they've talked about at length this being the foundation. Like they're not going to get everything right off the bat, but they are laying a foundation for something special going forward. With that, the development of this game is going to be dynamic, which is really exciting for me because one of the instances I heard, I believe it was Matt Brown that I heard talk about this. Um, if you see a play, like let's say this happened with Lincoln Riley a lot of times at Oklahoma, from what I can remember, you would see a play from Lincoln Riley on a Saturday and maybe a big game that just kind of blew everybody's mind. Like it was just so interesting, like such a great scheme out of a really cool formation that you hadn't seen. The point of that dynamic development is this development team wants to be able to see plays like that is not currently in a playbook. And by Tuesday of the next week, when you get an update, that play is going to be in USC's playbook. Like that to me is so cool because you have these as we see teams unveil new they unveil new uniforms, new traditions, whatever it may be, new plays. You see that stuff continue to come into the game, and like that just further reiterates just how important it is for them to be plugged in, and I really like that. So my last one, the home field advantage portion of this is going to be fun. I remember there's something like this in Madden. It's not anywhere near. I mean, it's just not anywhere near what they're putting this out to be. I kind of remember in like 2000 NCAA 2007 or 2008 where the screen would shake a little bit, and you would kind of feel your controller vibrate. Like back then, it was like with wired controllers, it was a little different, but now whenever it happens, you can kind of see here. Um, this is they're playing at Happy Valley. This is against Penn State. So, um, and I believe this particular play right here, or this particular instance, um, in Orlando, the development team was showing them the Mo Bamba reenactment. It was the reenactment of the whiteout with Mo Bamba playing, and Michigan couldn't get the playoff in time, and it was a delay of game. And I guess everybody in that room was just like, "Oh my God, they did it!" But just seeing like the stadium pulse, seeing the players not be able to see what's going on. You've got question marks over some of the receiver buttons. They don't know what to do. The noise is getting to them. Like I love that because you want to be immersed in the game, and for you to be able to feel that as the player, as the quarterback, that's a lot of fun. But it also goes into like the crowd noise. If you're playing with a headset, that's going to be extremely loud. It's going to be hard to concentrate on what's going on. But the kicker mechanics on in road games, like that's what I am. There have been so many college kickers that have decided the fate of people's weeks, weekends, months, years. Like that, like one way or another, they were either the hero or they're the guy that needs to disappear. That's just how college. That's the life of a college kicker. For that to be a new mechanic that makes it difficult, regardless of how good you are at the game, I'm excited to see how that plays out because the way that this game is played between friends, somebody is going to miss a kick and it's going to cost them a college football playoff appearance in a dynasty that they've been working for a few weeks, and it's going to tick somebody off. But that's what makes this so much fun. Like it's going to be awesome. I cannot wait to see how the dynamics work with road games. I think college football 25 coming back might be the best thing that ever happened to Madden. The reason I say that is because we've seen it in the past where they try things out in college football 25 or in college football video games, and it works and it gets implemented in Madden. Madden was always better when you had college football video games as well. And it's because you could really bounce and figure out what works and what doesn't. The fact that they put this much time and effort in college football 25, I think, is going to end up being reflected in Madden going forward. And if it's not, you're absolutely right. There will be no reason to continue playing Madden if they don't step their game up in a big way, because this looks like it blows anything that Madden's had out of the water in the last decade, like not even close. So, I really would like to say that I hope for Madden fans that that's what happens, but I could really care less now that I have a college football video game. Like Madden's dead to me. Like so, we can just call it as it is. One of the best things about this, Joe, is the fact that you and I are going to get paid to play this in some way, shape, or form. Which, like, to me is just I can't believe that. But some of the things that we're going to do with this game going forward to help build a community over at Heartland College Sports. Like, I cannot wait to see how that looks. But for now, this is going to wrap it up for our first episode together. Joe, once again, thank you so much. Absolutely. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much. Remember, if you like the show, please consider subscribing, leaving a 5-star rating and review for us over on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you're listening to the podcast. If you're on YouTube, make sure you are following and subscribe to the In the Game podcast YouTube channel. We're going to continue to build this thing out as we get closer and closer to not just the release of college football 25, but the 2024 college football season. So, be in tune with that. Make sure you're subscribed, and we will catch you guys next time.